Hey everyone, we are back with another penny stock video, and I have a lot of really exciting stocks to cover in this video because the OTC markets has been on fire, guys. It's been on absolute fire. In my opinion, we're pretty much in a full-on bull market now with the OTC. A lot of stuff out there is running, and it's running hard. And I just want to show you, before we dive into all these stocks I have ready for us today, I want to show you two that I covered in the past two videos that have performed really, really well. This is SDRC. We've had a huge breakout since I covered it on that video last week, or a week or two ago, I should say. And then we have ABQQ, which I just did this past Thursday, featured in the video, went through all of the DD for you. So if you want to see the research here, just go refer to that video from last Thursday. But this was around TRIPS 3 when the video was made, and you can see we've already hit 100% move at TRIPS 6, and I think there's still more upside on both of these. So be paying attention, guys. Make sure you're listening. Make sure you're seeing what I'm actually showing you through these videos, because we're covering some really, really great opportunities. So without further ado, let's move into the stocks we have for this week. First one being AVRW, Avenir Wellness Solutions Inc. It's on OTCQB, and guys, you can find some great values on the OTCQB market. It's so beaten down, and all of these companies are SEC reporting, fully audited, and a lot of them are doing big revenues, this one included, which we're going to get into in just a moment. So do not be ignoring these OTCQB stocks. They don't get as much hype online for whatever reason, but they're probably the best values out there on the whole damn stock market right now. I mean, when you look at a lot of these OTCQBs, they're like all at bottom, and they're all audited SEC reporting companies with nice revenues. So really got to pay attention to the OTCQB more. I wish people would bring more eyes onto it online. Maybe I'll have to take the lead and do that myself, but we're covering AVRW because there's some really nice, interesting things going on with it, right? And that is right here in the filings. But before we look at that, let's look at the share structure, because we always do that first. Share structure here, we have held at DTC, which is our publicly traded float, is 45 million shares. That's a very strong share structure right off the bat, right? 8-cent stock, 45 million shares available. That's what we would consider a low float. Low floats mean you can see these really volatile moves to the upside, like I've discussed in previous videos. And if we look at AVRW chart, which I accidentally just clicked out of, so we're going to reopen that real quick. But if we bring up AVRW chart, we're going to see that it is indeed fits the description of being an OTCQB stock that is at bottom, and it also fits the description of being a low float that can have volatile moves to the upside, right? Here's our chart. This is the 1-year chart. You can see we're at bottom here at the 8-cent range. It's formed a very solid, very decisive base here, I would say. And you know, this is a stock that is coming off a downtrend. We could see a breakout here for sure. And we can see that just a couple months ago, it had this huge wick up to 25 cents. So anyone who bought at 8 or sub 8 here, you know, made obviously great returns off that move. They made great returns off this big move here from a few months back as well, where it went to over 30 cents. So now it's back down to 8 cents, back down to the bottom, which presents us a good opportunity for a swing trade, right? Because, you know, again, the chart shows you how quickly this can move over 20 cents, which would be a fantastic return from 8 cents. So nice bottom chart, which means great area to load some shares, right? And then speaking of loading shares, this is where AVRW gets really interesting to me, is look at all of these Form 4s in their SEC filings. The insiders are loading the crap out of this thing. Hundreds of thousands of shares being purchased, right? And they're at 12 cents. Some of them are at 11 cents. So actually higher price. This one's at 24 cents. So actually higher price than what the stock's out now. This one's 340,000 shares. Right, so insiders are, you can see there's several Form 4s here. If you go on otcmarkets.com/stock/AVRW/disclosure, you can see and go read through all of these Form 4s yourself, but it shows you that, you know, insiders are purchasing the stock here, which would imply to me that it could be probably a pretty good purchase, right? Because the insiders would know more than we would. So if they're buying stock here, I'd say that's a pretty good sign for AVRW. So always great to see Form 4s, always great to see insider ownership being shared within these stocks. And then they do press release quite often. If we go to their news releases, their last one was in September, where they rejoined the OTCQB markets, right? So what happened was they were going through an audit process, and they finished the audit, which allowed them to get back to being listed on the OTCQB, which is obviously a higher tier exchange than the pink sheets. So as you can see, these guys usually PR once a month, if not more. They did not PR since September 19th. It's now October 15th. So I would think that there's probably going to be a press release from these guys soon because they like to put out news pretty consistently. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Obviously, that's speculation. And then here is their website, AVRW, right? Avenir Wellness. Some really nice things to see on this website. Two things in particular I want to highlight, which is current milestones. They're looking at $27.3 million in revenue between 2018 and 2022. That's some very strong revenue for an OTC markets company. Keep in mind, a lot of these companies we trade are doing a couple $100,000 in revenue, right? They're so speculative. It's always nice to see a company that already has a very strong foundation, that's already doing very strong sales. $27.3 million in revenue, 700,000 active customers, which is quite a large customer base. And then you have over 15 unique patents that are already approved. So these aren't patent pending. These are 15 plus patents in their portfolio, and it's always a very strong driver of value for these public companies when they have a strong patent portfolio, right? It really brings a lot of shareholder value if you have a lot of patents in your company's portfolio. So that's nice to see as well. And then we scroll down, and this is the really juicy stuff for Avenir Wellness, AVRW, is our partners list, right? So you can see their partners listed here, and these are some huge names. So it's great to see that they're working with these companies that are, S&P 500 companies, right? Amazon, CVS, Hy-Vee, Walmart, Target. You can't really get a bigger partner list than that. So Avenir Wellness definitely has the right partners in place to succeed here, as well as, like I said, strong revenues, strong customer base, and insiders purchasing stock. So all that being said, and especially considering we're right here in the loading zone, Avenir Wellness certainly looks like a good swing trade opportunity to me. Now we're getting into EDXC, Index Corp. So Index Corp is pretty interesting. I was reading through their Twitter. They're actually like the 8th CBD publicly listed company in the US, which is pretty cool. So they're not like some guys that just hopped on the trend, right? This is like a legacy CBD company that's kind of been here from the beginning, and they actually have a lot more going on than CBD now. And I actually think the stuff they have going on that's not CBD has actually become a little more interesting, which we're going to get into in a moment. Here's their share structure. This is a 337 million share float. It's not a tiny float. It's also not a huge float. It's kind of just one of those in the middle average float sizes, but it's certainly just fine for 3 cents. It's actually, a pretty strong share structure for a 3-cent stock, especially considering outstanding is only a bit more than the float, which is nice to see. So that means, there's not going to be a ton of restricted shares or anything dumping into the market anytime soon, I would think, right? Because pretty similar to the float already. So strong share structure, pretty standard share structure, but nothing wrong with it whatsoever. So we're going to move into more details about the company. Let's first look at the chart. And once again, OTCQB stock, right? So here it is, OTCQB, which I talked about. They're all like bottomed out, showing tremendous value. So this is another example. This thing is at bottom, and the chart shows us that it makes plenty of moves to the upside, right? At least 5 cents. So right now it's at 3 cents, and most of these moves are at least to 5 cents, if not more. This is the yearly chart. If we zoom out, you can see it's done all the way up to 10 cents before. So there's certainly upside based on the historical chart here. Looks like this would be the loading zone. And if we scroll down a little bit here, look at the accumulation line. And we've talked about before the power of accumulation and how it can just lock that float up, make it trade even more thin, make it easier for the stock to move up if the float's locked, right? If all the shares are being held tight, it's easier for the stock price to increase in the future. So huge accumulation here, just goes up and up and up and up and up and up. Always nice to see. What does that tell us? It means people are loading the stock, they're accumulating the stock, they're not flipping, they're not selling. So again, another opportunity here that's at bottom that you can swing for a return. And let's get into what the company's doing. Here's a really nice press release from October 12th, which was very recent. Index secures reorder for non-nicotine vape product HYLA, which I'll refer to as Hyla, from Italy, right? So $400,000 reorder from this Italian customer here. And this is for the product that I think is very interesting for this company, that it's kind of a diversification out of traditional CBD. And what they've done is they've gone into this non-nicotine vape product. So it's non-nicotine, non-tobacco, and it's all these vegan ingredients like guarana, which has natural occurring caffeine, things like that. I was reading some of their investor deck, which I'll show you in a moment as well. But here is part of their investor deck, and the investor deck really talks about why I think this Hyla product, which was actually an acquisition for them in 2022, could be the real future of this company and can drive a lot more growth, right? You can see they sold 950,000 Hyla devices from the acquisition date until the end of Q3 2023. So by now it's probably over 1 million, I would think, or very close to it. We're getting very close to that 1 million devices sold mark for this Hyla brand, which they acquired just about a year ago. So that's fantastic sales for a company that you just acquired. Really adds a lot of shareholder value to acquire a company like this that's doing tons and tons of sales already, right? You can see current products available for purchase in 11 states and 10 international markets, so they're expanding fast in terms of that. And here's the Hyla business growth. You can see full year 2022 revenue was $2.1 million. That's excellent revenue. 10,000 plus global retail outlets, 10 countries receiving deliveries. And, obviously this is a growing company, so I would expect these numbers to get even better as time goes on. But this is fantastic opportunities like these in OTCQB, where you have these really strong real companies. I mean, some of these companies could be trading on NASDAQ, but they just get overlooked. And so that's kind of what I try to do is guys, we got to start paying attention to this stuff. The OTCQB has some tremendous value opportunities here. So obviously this Hyla acquisition is fantastic for them. And then here's a quick map that shows where Hyla can be located in the United States so far, mostly West Coast, and also Texas, which is obviously a huge market. So the Hyla product looks great. And I would say that, again, this is a company that just had a fantastic PR, and they PR quite often as well, just like AVRW, right? So I would say we could probably expect quite a few more press releases from these guys in the near future. Bottom, great opportunity in terms of the value here, considering they have this growing Hyla acquisition that's doing great revenues, right? So that's EDXC. Actually, I'll show you their Twitter real quick as well. You can follow them at Index Corp. I love when companies on OTC have Twitters. I just think it's the best way to consistently communicate with your shareholder bases through Twitter. And they're very active on Twitter, and they're very detailed on Twitter. So give them a follow, and it makes it easier to just keep up with what they're doing. And now we're going to move into a NASDAQ stock I've picked for us. So usually I just cover OTC, but every once in a while I break out a NASDAQ stock. We covered WorkSport before, which performed really well. We did a couple others. Now we're going to be looking at Pixie. And Pixie is one I've traded before. It's a really fun one to trade because when it starts moving, it can really move, right? So Pixie is actually a cool company as well, which I'll show you real quick. I really like their company here. ShiftPixie is the actual product. And essentially it's this software / app. And what it does is it's focused on the gig economy, but it's focused on bringing the gig economy, things like Uber and DoorDash are examples of gig economy. And it's focused on bringing the gig economy into the regular workforce. So it connects with these companies and allows them to basically say, okay, we need someone to cover this shift. You can just go on the app and get someone to cover the shift just like that. Super simple. I think it's a good idea. And, I think if implemented correctly, it could really be a big thing for these companies because, let's be honest, a lot of fast food joints and Walmarts and ShopRites and things, they have so much turnover. It's so hard to keep good employees. So it would really make it easier on them if they can just go on an app and hire someone instantly, right? So in this case with ShiftPixie, you can do that. And you can see that they have a really fantastic national client list already. A&M Recycling, Burger King is the huge one. Little Caesars Pizza is huge. Very recognizable brands here that are already using the ShiftPixie product. And if we look at some of their fundamentals, there's some really interesting stuff here. They have $20 million in sales, almost $21 million in sales, but only a $9 million market cap. So I think it's safe to say they're undervalued. And then you also have 23% insider ownership, which is always great to see on these NASDAQs. You have 9.49 million shares float, but it's actually doing a reverse split on Monday. So tomorrow, from when I'm uploading this video, there's going to be a reverse split that's going into effect. And that is a 24-to-1 reverse split. Do the math. You're looking at about a 400,000 share float after reverse split. That is a tiny, tiny, tiny float, especially considering 23% inside ownership on top of that. It's a tiny float, which means it's going to trade very thin, and it's going to be honestly quite volatile. But because this stock is already at the bottom, good bet that it's going to be volatile to the upside, right? Because people are going to say, wow, there's a micro float here on the NASDAQ. We can run this right now. And I expect it, I really do expect this to perform well post-split, because that is such a tiny float, undervalued company, doing interesting things. They do a lot of PRs as well. They have some AI stuff going on. So I do think when people recognize, wow, there's a 400,000 share float doing all this, it could see a really volatile move to the upside. So definitely keep an eye on Pixie. It's an exciting one. I'm very much looking forward to. I'll probably be trading it myself on Monday, most likely, because I think it looks fantastic as an opportunity. Right? I don't know about a long-term investment yet, but I think the opportunity for the swing trade is certainly there off the RS, because again, we've seen so many small caps make big moves off of reverse splits. So definitely keep an eye on Pixie for this week. I think it could be a really good one for the NASDAQ scene. And now we're going to be taking a look at an old favorite, GEGI, Genesis Electronics Group. And I've covered this stock so many times, so I'm not going to go into complete detail, but I'm basically just going to be providing an update for you. What's going on with GEGI now? Well, I'm actually really excited about GEGI again, because they just put this tweet out. Hi, it has been brought to our attention that there are numerous accounts perpetrating GEGI. We are blocked by them as well. Please know we will never solicit money from anyone. Ignore that part, right? Let's get to the juicy stuff. Please continue to question any uncertainties you find. We are almost there. News is coming. Love that, love that, love that. For those who don't know, we were super hyped about this stock a few months ago, had a huge run. I'm still hyped about the stock. I still love the management and the story behind it. The problem is the price stalled out and took a hit because they had some issues with securing funding. So to my understanding, they've been looking for new funding. They've been looking to move along with things again. So now that they said news is coming, I'm betting that it's probably good news. I don't think they would say that if it was bad news. So GEGI, if it's positive news, this one's going to get huge hype again, guys. Huge hype again. I'm warning you right now, it's going to get massive hype again if this news is good and they get back on track with their roadmap. So do not sleep on GEGI. Huge opportunity here. It's in low dubs. It's done way more than low dubs many times. Don't sleep on it, guys. All right, GEGI is back. And then we're going to take a look at SFLM, which is like GEGI's brother because it's the same insiders, right? And kind of connected businesses as well. And SFLM, obviously I did a whole video on this 2 weeks ago. Go watch that. I have huge DD on it. But we have a couple updates to cover with SFLM as well because they just submitted their revised quarterly reports, which means, and the revised annual report, which means all we need is a revised attorney letter now, and it is pink current, and we can start dropping press releases here. So SFLM, just like GEGI, is one of the most hype stocked in the OTC right now. These guys, Chad McKay and Andrew Van Noy, who are behind both of them, are really doing awesome stuff, are bringing in these huge projects into the OTC, which could become like, massive businesses someday with the concepts that they're bringing in and the people that they're bringing in the OTC. So SFLM, GEGI, they're kind of like brother stocks, sister stocks, whatever you want to call them. But, when SFLM does drop this amended attorney letter, I think there's going to be huge hype there. And then there's going to be huge hype when it goes pink current. And then there's going to be huge hype when they start press releasing. So we've talked about before with the OTC, it's very speculation driven and it's very hype driven. And so when you have these stocks with huge hype, you better make sure you're paying attention to them because they can do some crazy moves. And then we're going to look at a little more SFLM DD that was just uncovered by a member of our stock trading community on Investor Hub and Twitter. He shared it, and it's some fantastic DD that I missed, actually, so I'm glad he found it, but it's very important for us to cover here. And that is the connection between Loyal Companies, which owns, that's Chad and Andrew Van Noy, who I just mentioned. They own SFLM. So SFLM is kind of in the portfolio of Loyal Companies now. And turns out Loyal Companies has a connection to $1 billion investment firm. So let's take a look at what that connection is. If we look at Loyal Companies' portfolio, we can see Link Trust and we can see SpaceJet. And if we go to LinkedIn, we can see Chad McKay, founder of Loyal Companies, also owner of SFLM. CEO of Link Trust as well. So Link Trust is his company. Now he doesn't have SpaceJet on his LinkedIn, but if you just Google search Chad McKay SpaceJet, you'll see that Chad McKay is highly involved with SpaceJet as well. So why are Link Trust and SpaceJet important? Well, here's why they're important. And this is the big find. Corbel Capital Partners, billion-dollar investment firm right here. Corbel manages approximately $1 billion of institutional capital across multiple funds, right? Based in Los Angeles. Let's look at their portfolio. What do we have here? We have Link Trust and we have SpaceJet. So there is a very clear connection now between SFLM, Loyal Companies, and Corbel Capital Partners, which is a billion-dollar investment firm. Think about that. Let that sink in. All I'm going to say is I don't see any of y'all's OTCs with connections to billion-dollar firms. I only see SFLM with a connection to a billion-dollar firm. So there's a reason SFLM gets so much hype. There's a reason it gets so much attention, because people are thinking this is going to be a massive opportunity in the OTC. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Guys, definitely look into these OTCQB market opportunities as well. AVRW, EDXC. Really, these can be great opportunities. They present huge value here. They're bottomed on the chart. They have nice share structures. The OTCQB market's so beaten down that there's just great value out there. Pay attention to these. I think they can be very nice runners. Pixie, we have that reverse split coming on Monday. It's going to be a 400,000 share float. To me, that just sounds like a no-brainer for a nice trade opportunity. Geji, this tweet says it all. We're almost there. News is coming. Absolutely love that. And then again, SFLM, this is like my baby. I love this stock. And just, I hope people appreciate this awesome DD that was uncovered, because to me, it's a big deal to be connected to a billion-dollar capital firm. So again, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed all the stocks I covered in this video, and I will see you next time.